Welcome back to Tales by Carl the Griot, where Africa's ancient myths, legends, and untold stories come alive. If you are new here, remember to subscribe, like this video, and ring the bell so you never miss a tale that carries the wisdom of our ancestors. Now, let me take you back to the first days. Days so young the earth still steamed from the Maker's hands. Days when even shadows had not yet learned where to lie. In those beginnings, when a heart stopped and a chest grew still, it was not the end. The thread of life, though slack, did not break. The body would cool, but the breath did not depart for long. A few hours, a full day at most, and then a shiver, a gasp. The dead stood up, washed the dust from their feet, and came home. They were not memories, but flesh. They walked, they talked, and we embraced them. At first, it was a gentle wonder. A mother who had gone to sleep and never woke returned at dawn, her face luminous as morning mist. Her children, who had wept through the night, ran into her arms, still smelling of sun and soil. A hunter who slipped beneath the river's mouth one moonless night walked from the reeds by morning, shaking water from his hair, a single fish gleaming in his hand. A grandmother who had watched the stars fall into the millet fields, rose at sunset, sat at the threshold, and wove stories into the dark. Her hands, cool as river stones, still knew the old patterns of thread. The people called it kindness, a blessing plucked from the Maker's palm. They thought death had become a doorway, that love could not be stolen, only rearranged. They made a place at the fire and said, "We are one, we will always be one." For a time it seemed true. The returned helped with the harvest. They taught children the old songs. They shared wisdom of roots that healed, winds that spoke, waters that warned. The village hummed with an unnatural calm. But in this quiet, something was already breaking. Blessings like rain can rise as flood. Soon the houses grew crowded. The living lay shoulder to shoulder with the returned. The dead hungered, not for flesh, not for blood, but for what they had lost. The small crowns of the living, the first taste of fruit, the warmth of an old seat, the simple weight of an old name. At first, the living conceded. "Take the bed, grandfather. Sit in the chair, auntie. Drink first, father." They said it with smiling teeth and frightened eyes. But the returned did not tire, did not sleep, did not thirst. They watched the living with silence that hungered. To be near was sweet. To be denied the fullness of life was bitter. Old grudges woke like snakes in dry grass. "Brother," rasped a returned elder, his hand casting no shadow, "I built this house. Why does your son sleep in the inner room while I am left at the door?" A woman who had died in childbirth scolded her daughter at the grinding stone. "This rhythm is mine. Step aside." Envy learned to hiss, and the hiss became a language. In Yami, children woke to cold fingers combing their hair. Love meant, but scraping like dry branches. In Gondo, the dead and living quarreled over hoes and seed. The fields grew tangled and failed. In Mava, a chief returned new moon, spear in a hand without shadow, and reclaimed his stool. His brother, displaced, became a guest in his own courtyard. The people murmured, "Where does it end? If the dead sit at the table, must they lie with our spouses? If they seize the drum, must our songs be silent?" The first time a man struck a returned ancestor, the wind bit its tongue and went still for a day. The second time, goats refused to bleat. The third time, lightning split an acacia to its roots, and the sound was a scream across the plains. A boy named Kaseke watched his mother weep as his grandmother, returned and restless, rearranged their house, counted plates, and commanded without end.
The house never slept. The grandmother never tired. One evening, Kaseke found his father staring into the hearth, where the last coals glowed like watching eyes. "Baba," asked the boy, "are we a house of two worlds or a house of none?" His father had no answer. The people gathered gifts of salt, honey, indigo cloth, ivory, chaff. They climbed to the high stones where the maker's feet were once said to rest, where the horizon holds its secrets like a closed mouth. And there they cried as one throat, "We are drowning in blessings we cannot hold. We love our dead, but we cannot live with them and live as ourselves. The rooms are too small for two worlds. Give us a path."
For 3 days the sky turned its face. On the fourth dawn, a wind rose from the east, carrying the scent of rains from lands that had never known them. The stones trembled like drums before a song, and the Maker came, not in flesh, but as knowing, like the first time a child hears their own name. The Maker spoke, voice like an old river remembering its way. "In the beginning, I fashioned life from earth and breath. Earth remembers the shape, breath remembers the song. When breath departs, the shape still aches. Your love calls your dead back, and they answer. For love is a rope no river can drown, no fire can burn. But a rope pulled from both sides strangles the one in the middle. Your ancestors are caught between hunger and silence. You reach for them, they reach for you. Neither rests. So hear my decree. Body to earth, name to sky, water at the threshold. Do this, and the body's ache will be silenced, the breath's longing soothed. Do this, and love will feed without devouring." The people trembled. "If we put our dead beneath the soil, will they not forget us?" Kaseke stepped forward, voice small but cutting. "Master, if we do this thing, will my grandmother still know my name?" The wind circled him. Hearth fires across the villages flared and guttered in one breath. "If you honor them," said the Maker, "they will know. Speak their names at dawn and dusk. Pour water. Tell their stories. Their love will not fade. It will ripen." So the people returned, carrying the Maker's words like fire. They dug the first graves, not pits of forgetting, but houses of sleeping. They lined them with woven grass and smooth stones and sang songs like smoke curling into sky. Kaseke's grandmother was among the first. She looked at him with pale, mourning eyes. "Will you know me?" He tied her red beads into her palm. "Follow them if you lose the path," he whispered. She smiled a secret smile and followed the people to the edge of the village. They laid her down, water poured from a gourd that had never touched a lie. Names spoken thrice, one for the world, one for the heart, one for the road. The earth closed like eyelids. That night, the air breathed easier. Children dreamed without fear. The dead came gently, not to claim bowls or beds, but to bless, to hum, to guide. In a dream, the grandmother touched Kaseke's brow with a hand that was finally warm. But not all surrendered. At midnight, the chief of Mava returned with warriors long buried. Their feet left no dust. Their shadows wore no bodies. They circled the new graveyard, snarling, "Who dares to hide us from our houses?" No one fled. Torches steadied. The women woke the drum whose skin remembered the first thunder. elders poured libations to the four corners, and the children, voices clear as cockerels, cried, "We have not hidden you, we have tucked you in." The ground rumbled low, like a storm learning to purr. A fragrance of old rain rose. The chief looked at his stool in the meeting house, then at the mound where his body slept. To be a storm without a sky, or a river feeding roots? He bowed, and the night folded him and his warriors down like tired birds. Words spread like fire carried by wind. Every burial became not an end, but a weaving, a stitch between worlds. Life steadied, fields calmed, children laughed again. Kaseke grew tall. On market days, he wore the red beads on his wrist. Once at a crossroads, they cooled his skin. He turned left without knowing why. On that path, he found his lost child. When his daughter was born, carrying his grandmother's smile, he took her to the family graves at sunset. "See," he whispered, "this is your house below and your house above. We do not shout across the distance, we speak at the threshold." Seasons turned, the graves settled into memory. On nights when the moon was ablade, the wind passed through villages like pages turning. And what people heard was not jealousy nor quarrel, but names spoken slowly, blessings counted like cowries. One day a traveler asked Kaseke, now old, "Is it true? Do you bury your dead to keep your houses quiet?" Kaseke smiled the way trees do. "We bury our dead so love can be food, not a knife. We bury them so they hear us without needing a chair. Body to earth, name to sky, water at the threshold. That is enough." The traveler frowned. "And are you not afraid they will forget you?" "Afraid?" Kaseke's eyes lifted to a patient star. "When I pour water, the ground drinks and gives it back as grass. When I speak a name, it returns as courage. When I close my eyes, I feel a hand on my head. Go on. Forgetting is for those who refuse to call. We call. That is the work of the living." And so it stands, children of drum and fire. In the first days, the dead walked among us, and our love nearly drowned us. But the Maker gave us wisdom, and the earth gave us rest. That is why we bury the dead, not to hide them, but to house them, to hold them where holding does no harm, where love finally can rest and keep watch. And so ends today's tale, my friends. If this story touched you, leave a comment below and tell me, what do you think? Should the dead walk among us, or should they rest beneath the earth? Do not forget to like this video and subscribe so you can join me, Carl the Griot, for the next legend. Until then, keep the fire burning, keep the drums speaking, and remember, the stories of our ancestors are the bridges that carry us forward.